Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take these, massive stacks of really specialized knowledge.
And try to make them make sense.
Yeah, and turn them into clear, actionable insights for you. Today, we are embarking on a pretty profound exploration.
We really are. We're getting into one of the most foundational concepts in the early path to liberation, the practice of abiding in emptiness.
And our sources for this are basically the instruction manuals.
That's right. The greater discourse on emptiness and the shorter discourse on emptiness. They give you a very practical, step-by-step map.
And the whole premise is it's just so concise. It's really all in this one short verse. You should contemplate the world as empty, being always mindful. So before we jump into the steps, we have to clarify what they mean by emptiness. Are we talking about some kind of philosophical nihilism that nothing exists?
No, absolutely not. And that is probably the most critical misunderstanding to get out of the way first. In this early Buddhist thought, emptiness isn't about non-existence. It applies to all phenomena, everything. Internal feelings, external objects, all of it.
So it's not a void.
No. The insight is that all of these things, they lack any permanent, inherent self or substance. Nothing has a solid, independent self-nature.
Okay, so it's a lack of inherence.
Exactly. And the ultimate practical goal of this whole thing is to cultivate a mind that is emptied of defilements.
Of greed, hatred, and delusion.
It's big three.
So our mission today is to follow that step-by-step guidance. And it's not, just for a weekend retreat. This is designed to work in every single moment of your life.
Starting right now, the first critical insight the texts give us is that this path is not linear. It's not a sequence where, daily life stops and then meditation begins.
They feed each other.
They feed each other. They support and nourish each other continuously. Two sides of the same coin.
So if the goal is a mind emptied of defilements, how do we start applying this to the most mundane parts of our day? Like, say, just walking from the car to the office.
Well, you start with embodied mindfulness, right there, in the 4 bodily postures. Walking, standing, sitting, and lying down.
Okay.
The practice is what they call clear comprehension. You engage in that action walking, in your example, with a really determined, proactive intention.
An intention.
Yeah. The aim is that while you're walking, you're thinking, no desire and dejection, no bad and unwholesome states will overflow me. It's basically mental hygiene, but rooted in your physical awareness.
That's a powerful way to frame just moving. It's not just an action. It's like a declaration of your mental state.
It is.
And this is where the sources get into that really surprising analogy about cutting through what they call selfing.
Ah, yes. Selfing or appropriation. This
Yeah.
is that continuous ingrained feeling of, I am the owner, I am the doer, I am the walker.
It's just automatic.
Completely. And the texts describe it so vividly. They compare this tendency to a dog bound to a strong post.
Right. It just keeps pulling, perpetually stressed by its own sense of ownership.
Exactly. You're stuck in this continuous bondage and stress because you identify so tightly with every single action.
So what's the transformative part? How do you apply emptiness in that moment?
It's the moment you realize that the walking can happen without a sense of a doer.
Walking without a walker.
Walking without a walker. It's letting go of the ego's ownership of the process. And that realization, that's a huge paradigm shift.
But I think a crucial question there is, if the walking happens without a walker, where does discipline or responsibility fit in? You don't just become passive.
No, not at all. It's about dropping the unnecessary burden of the ego. It's actually a gain, not a loss. The discipline is still there, but that stress of being the one responsible for the entire universe just drops away.
The relief comes from the non-appropriation.
Precisely. Now, if we shift from the body to speech, that exact same discipline has to be applied to what comes out of your mouth.
And communication is where most of us really reinforce our defilements, right?
Yeah.
Often without even realizing it.
Oh, absolutely. The instruction is pretty strict. Avoid talk that is lowly, vulgar, base, ignoble, not beneficial.
So things like politics, gossip about people.
Politics, material goods, competitive gossip, even just idle chatter. All of it is discourse that just strengthens that sense of I, that dog pulling on the post. It
Right.
doesn't lead to peace.
And the inverse of that is what they call noble talk.
Yes, you actively cultivate talk that promotes, fewness of wishes, contentment, seclusion, virtue, wisdom. And you do the same with your thoughts. You avoid sensuality, ill will, harming.
Which map directly onto right intention.
They're the exact opposites of renunciation, non-ill will, and non-harming.
So this is continuous attention. Body, speech, and mind. How do you sustain that, especially if you're busy? A lot of modern techniques focus just on the subtle breath.
And the text recognized that. In the hurly-burly of daily life, focusing only on the subtle breath can be too demanding. It can strain the attention.
So what do they recommend?
They recommend whole body awareness. The entire body is a much broader, more easily noticed object. It encourages a more robust kind of attention.
And what's the advantage of that, practically speaking?
Well, the whole body focus helps harmonize your physical behavior, your posture, your facial expression, that tension in your shoulders with your conscious mental state.
So you'd notice it physically first.
Much easier. You can notice a subtle irritation showing up as physical tension long before it explodes in your mind as anger. Whole body awareness gives you that stable grounding you need to keep the mind empty of defilements, no matter what's happening.
Okay, so once that foundation is sort of established in daily life, the practitioner can move into more formal, deep meditation.
That's right. And this path is a progression that emulates the Buddha's own abiding in emptiness. It moves through increasingly subtle perceptions.
And stage one starts simply, with the perception of the forest, which sounds a bit like you're just moving house.
In a way, it's about establishing a beneficial kind of absence. You're removing the external causes of defilement.
So the lack of city disturbances, no elephants, no horses, no crowds.
Exactly. The forest provides that external container for quiet, but the key takeaway is the function of seclusion itself.
Which is?
The sources say it's valuable because someone who is not yet concentrated can gain it, and someone who is already concentrated will progress even further. It's a guaranteed catalyst.
So absence isn't a negative here.
No, it's positive and welcome. It's the absence of noise that allows for the presence of clarity.
So we've established outer quietude in the forest. How does the practice then turn inward in stage two? To build an inner quietude. This is the shift to the perception of earth.
Right. We move from perceiving an external absence, the forest, to the abstract notion of solidity. This is the deep internal grounding practice. The goal is oneness, a non-dual perceptual totality of the earth element.
The description they use for this is really beautiful.
It is. The mind is devoted to this perception of earth, and you disregard all the uneven parts, the rivers, the mountains, the thorns.
Right, like a bull's hide that has been stretched well by 100 pegs, being free from folds.
An image of just total, seamless, unshakable tranquility.
That sounds so still.
Oh.
Then the sources pivot to the famous butcher simile, which is much more visceral. Why use these two conflicting images? The seamless hide and the dissected animal.
That's where the real depth is. Meditating on the earth element is foundational because earth is solidity, the first of the four elements.
Earth, water, fire, wind.
Right. And contemplating earth implicitly includes the others. The solidity of your body depends on the cohesion of water, the temperature of fire, the motion of air. It's all interconnected.
The insight of interdependence.
Yes. And that's where the butcher simile comes in. A butcher doesn't see a cow as a beloved entity. They see a combination of parts.
Okay.
So contemplating your own body in terms of these elements shifts your perspective from seeing it as this substantial, permanent thing to seeing it as merely a combination of qualities.
Or pieces of meat.
Or pieces of meat. It's
Okay.
a direct attack on appropriation.
If there's no permanent cow, there's no permanent I.
Exactly. And that shift fosters this profound inner grounding. It allows you to remain unshaken amid blame and praise, just like a solid rock, because the self that feels praised or blamed has been dismantled.
So we've grounded the body. Now we're going beyond matter entirely. Stage 3 is the perception of infinite space.
And the practice here is basically cessation. The meditator stops attending to the perceptions of forest or earth. This overcomes what the texts call perceptions of resistance.
Materiality itself.
Yeah, the mind is no longer established on the physical side of existence.
When people hear space, especially in a spiritual context, they often think of, a void, nothingness. How do these texts frame it as an enabling potential?
It's the difference between space is empty and space is necessary. They use the house simile.
Right.
A house isn't just the building materials. It's the space inside that allows you to live in it. Space enables potential. It facilitates all sensory experience.
We're realizing the limits of the physical container by analyzing the quality of the space it occupies.
Precisely. And this leads to that foundational instruction given to Rahula. Cultivate a mind like space which is not established anywhere.
A mind not established anywhere.
Yeah, this vast open receptivity becomes crucial. When agreeable and disagreeable contacts come up, a space like mind prevents them from just overwhelming you.
It's like an internal heat shield.
It functions exactly like one. Reactivity, when it meets a mind that isn't established anywhere, it just evaporates, like water drops falling on a thoroughly heated iron plate.
There's nothing for it to stick to.
Nothing. It's like trying to paint on empty space.
Incredible. Okay, so from infinite space, we move to stage 4, the perception of infinite consciousness. So from the vastness of space to the knowledge of that space, how is that different?
It's a key transition. You're moving from the object of perception, which was space, to the subjective process of perception itself. You're attending to the pure knowing process.
Analyzing the mechanism of experience.
Exactly. And we have to remember the early Buddhist definition here. Consciousness is not some permanent soul.
It's a process.
It's a crucial point. It's an impermanent process. A consciousnessing that arises from contact between a sense and an object, which leads us to the construction of experience itself.
Where consciousness and what's called name and form are reciprocally conditioned.
That's a great way to put it. Consciousness is the actuality, the being present, while name and form, that's the mental content, like feeling, perception, volition.
Yeah.
That provides the potentiality.
And, crucially, causes the conceptual proliferation, the stories we tell ourselves.
Which is what leads to suffering.
So let's visualize this using that 5 fingers of name analogy. It's so memorable for understanding how the mind just generates suffering.
Okay, so imagine your hand taking hold of an experience. The first is the index finger. That's contact, the initial touch point.
Got it.
Next is the thumb. That's attention. It takes hold of what's relevant. It can be wise or unwise attention.
So those two define the initial event. What's next?
The ring finger, which is perception. It marries that raw sense data with all your biases and memories. It interprets everything.
Okay, so it adds a story.
It adds the story. Then the little finger, that's feeling tone. It seals the deal by labeling the experience as pleasant, painful, or neutral.
And that leaves the big one.
The middle finger, which is volition. It sticks out because it represents choice and intention, and it causes long-ranging repercussions. That's karma.
So this whole hand, this name and form,
Yeah.
is just constantly gripping and building concepts.
And the practice is to learn how to subvert that. The task is to subdue the proliferation.
Yeah.
You take the thumb of attention out of its busy work with the other fingers, out of the content, and you point it instead toward the stillness of that which knows, the consciousness process itself.
From the what to the how.
Exactly, the mere act of knowing. And this confirms the primacy of the mind. Phenomena are preceded by the mind, and they are made by the mind.
So we've dissolved matter, we've turned inward to the knowing mind. Stage 5, nothingness, feels like a necessary purification after reaching that expansive state.
It is. It's a purification. This stage is to make sure that the profound experience of infinite consciousness doesn't lead you to this subtle final mistake.
The idea that you found a permanent self in that knowing.
Exactly. The core insight here is that the experience itself is empty of a self and what belongs to a self. It divests the experience of any lingering trace of self-ID.
And the doctrine of not self has been so misunderstood. The texts use the chariot simile to address this.
They do, and it's the perfect counterargument, because the denial is only of an independent, permanent self.
Not functional existence.
Right. The simile says if you take a chariot apart, the wheels, the axle, the frame, you can't find a permanent chariot entity, but that doesn't mean the chariot never existed.
It existed as a temporary functional assembly of parts.
Precisely. It existed based on causes and conditions. So the practice isn't denying you exist. It's denying the possibility of an independent, permanent owner. The insight is that the void of emptiness is full to the brim with causes and conditions.
From there, stage 6 moves to sanelessness, which sounds like total internal silence. What is being let go of here?
Everything that allows recognition. A sign is any characteristic, mark, or label that enables you to recognize something. So the practice is abiding in the absence of any signs.
It's the ultimate bare awareness.
It is. It's what was taught to Bahia. In what is seen, there will be just what is seen. In what is cognized, there will be just what is cognized.
You're stripping away every single layer of interpretation, of judgment. What happens when you do that?
All localization and identification just collapses. The texts say, you will not be thereby. You will be neither here nor beyond nor between the two.
Wow.
The mind is suspended without anything to do in total stillness, like a tree just quietly shedding its leaves in autumn.
Which brings us to the climax. Stage 7, nirvana.
The final breakthrough. The meditator sees that even that signless concentration, as powerful as it is still constructed and produced by volition. It's still conditioned.
And therefore impermanent.
and of a nature to cease. And because all conditioned things are finally let go of, the mind is utterly liberated from the three influxes: sensuality, becoming, and ignorance. That completes the meditation.
So we follow this whole trajectory from mindful walking, seclusion, dissolving matter, isolating consciousness, all the way to signlessness. What does this whole thing mean for the listener back in their daily life?
Well, the beauty of it is that the entire trajectory is framed as a circle. The resulting purified, supreme, and unsurpassed emptiness feeds right back into daily life.
How does it manifest?
As a perfectly balanced mind, it allows you to be at ease, free from those defiled reactions, even when facing things that would normally trigger that dog bound to the post.
So it's not just a meditative state, it's a radical new way of engaging with reality.
Completely. The real measure of success isn't some extraordinary meditative feat. It's the personal transformation that comes from eradicating the defilements.
The heart opens to flourish into the beauty of the divine abodes in any daily life situation.
That quiet, non-appropriating mind becomes the foundation for everything else, for real compassion and ethical behavior.
We've learned that dropping the burden of the ego is, surprisingly, a massive gain. It's not a loss.
It's the ultimate relief.
So the daily life implementation of emptiness is non-appropriation, captured in that maxim. Having nothing, taking up nothing.
So as you move through the rest of your day, maybe you can consider this practical question, especially when things get stressful. How can you practice breathing without a breather, or speaking without a speaker, even in a simple conversation?
And feel that immediate relief of just letting go of the ego's ownership, just for a moment.
Just for a moment, and observe the shift in your mental state.